What's going on? What's going on, y'all? Hang on, hold on. I got another one. You know what I mean? It's kind of late. I want to see who's up. That being said, hang on. Let me make sure I got my stuff going on here. You know, there we go. There we go. What's up? What's good? Hey, y'all, I got another one. Hope y'all having a great night. Hit that like button. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not subscribed. Join the tribe. You know, we love you over here. We love your company. Drop a comment, man. You know what I'm saying? Let's talk about it. With no further ado, let's get right into it.
There was no question in my mind. I knew at some point we would get divorced. The only question mark was when. I thought,
this woman is insane. She purposely jumped into a marriage contract with a man knowing full well she wasn't gonna stay committed.
marriage is just a failed technology and people just have to accept it for what it is. If the rate of it failing is 65%, which by the way, it should be higher.
I'm not comfortable. In fact, I've tried really hard to be attracted to men who treat me well. It's boring.
I am literally still in shock that my husband just came home from work one day and decided that he's going to up and leave the family. But here we are. My soon-to-be ex-husband. My soon-to-be ex-husband. My soon-to-be ex-husband. Well, since my husband.
Kindly subscribe to the channel, as it is our sole form of support. Thank you.
Yeah, you guys.
I
Subscribe. Let's
absolutely
go.
went into marriage knowing I was going to become a divorcee. There was no question in my mind. I knew at some point we would get divorced. The only question mark was when. I thought, when I'm 40, maybe I'd get that title. Maybe then I'd earn it, 10 years down the track. Because I think 10 years in a marriage, that's a pretty good innings in this day and age. That's like a good run.
These women, and this one especially, knew that she was going to get a divorce and went into the marriage anyway. Let's talk about it. Let's cook her. No, I was playing.
Turns out it was just a 3. In the end, that's all we kind of reached our limit with. But, still got the title in the end. And obviously, I don't want to get married ever again. However, double divorcee is a term that I'm living for. That is cunt, isn't it? Oh yeah, I'm a double divorcee. What? That's Slayana. Almost would be worth getting married again for. But as I said, I'm not going to get married again.
This is complete nonsense. It's complete nonsense. And that sweater's kind of big. I think she's hiding some shoulders. Some shoulder pads. You know what I'm saying? Let's say some shoulder pads.
Unless it's someone with terrible health, no living other relatives, and a lot of money. In which case, inquire within.
Why even get married? This makes no sense at all. I also knew I was going to get divorced before I got married. What is the motivation to get married if you believe divorce is inevitable? Girl, I was 24 and divorced just shy of 5 years of marriage.
Starter husbands,
I
man.
knew from the minute I signed the paper. Married again to some...
They know they're going to get divorced so they can take half of whatever dude has if he gets anything. Which most of them are going to get a guy that has something so she can get something. They're not doing it for nothing. They're going to tell you they're doing it for nothing, but they want stuff. They want assets.
Someone who I know I wouldn't divorce.
It's an easy come up. It's an easy, what these chicks call lick. Fool some idiot that has money and then leave him for no reason with no fault divorce. Easy breezy lemon squeezy. Just made a quick come up.
We're all wondering the same thing here. Why get married if you had planned to get a divorce in the first place? What this woman did is truly evil. She intentionally wasted that man's time, leading him on to believe he'd found the love of his life. It's frustrating to think about the level of deception involved here. This wasn't just a case of a relationship not working out. It was calculated from the start. This woman entered the marriage fully aware that she was stringing him along with no intention of making it last. She already knew the marriage wouldn't work out. But what's really not surprising is the women in the comments relating to this woman saying they've done the same thing, entering into a marriage contract, knowing full well they have no plan on being committed to the marriage, only to file for divorce later. It's honestly appalling to see people treat marriage like a temporary fix, a phase or a convenient status upgrade they can abandon at will. They walk away as if it's no big deal, leaving the other person crushed, financially drained, and questioning whether they can ever trust anyone again. Now, this is her viewpoint on marriage.
Marriage is just a failed technology and people just have to accept it for what it is. If the rate of it failing is 65%, which by the way, it should be higher because there's probably like 25% of people who would have got divorced and should have got divorced but stayed together for the kids, right? So that leaves maybe 10% of marriages that are actually happily married, right? Maybe, all right? Apply that to anything else, you wouldn't do it. If it was surgery and they said there's a 65% chance you're going to die, 25% chance you'll survive but be seriously injured, or
BS. I mean, I don't think that the BBL surgeries are that high as far as 65, but it's pretty high, right? I mean, it's pretty high. So I don't know what she's talking about. Women just do things.
10% chance it works. Would you do it? No, you wouldn't. If it was a plane and they said 65% chance of a crash, 20% chance of an emergency landing, 10% chance you'll make it, would you do it? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't buy an iPhone if there was a 10% chance of it working. What are you talking about? Stop defending marriage. It doesn't work, babe.
Well, she completely dodged the question. No surprises there. The question was simple. Why did you get married? Madam, nobody asked you for statistics or percentages of failed marriages. While it's true that marriage is struggling today, she's done nothing but contribute to that decline. Instead of taking accountability for her own actions, she's deflecting. She's talking about marriage as a broad concept, skirting around the real issue, her own choices and how she led that man on, wasting his time and energy. This is a prime example of someone who wanted the wedding but didn't want the marriage. She probably went all in for the ceremony, the vows, and the image of a happily married couple. But when it came down to commitment, she had 1 foot in and 1 foot out the entire time. This woman just wanted the title of a wife, but not to actually be a wife.
So let me get this straight. You really went into a marriage knowing damn well you didn't want to marry this man. You didn't think it was going to be long-term, and you still sat up at the altar and said, I do. And you don't think that that's disgusting behavior to lie to somebody, to manipulate somebody, to look them in the eyes and say forever and not mean it? And the amount of women in her comment section that are basically saying that they're in the same situation and they're waiting until the 10-year mark to get whatever they can out of their husbands, which means they're lying to their husbands every single day for however many years. And then you expected to play this long game, expecting it to last 10 years, even though it only lasted 3, which means you'd be lying to him for the next 10 years, and you don't see that as a problem. In fact, you think it's funny, like it's a flex that you're going to be a double divorcee. And just imagine for a moment a man came on this app and spewed all this nonsense about using his wife just for the title. Let's be so for real. We all know how this goes. These women get on the dating scene and they get treated the exact same way that they treated the men in their relationships or in their marriages.
Exactly.
And they can't handle it. And then they get online and cry, where did all the good men go? Even though they're basically breaking down and destroying all of the good men in the process. So they just perpetuate this same toxic cycle and then blame all men. Like, since when is it cute to basically become an escort if you're marrying a man for money? Some of y'all need to stop using men and marriages as an ego boost and just get yourself into therapy, but don't cry about all the men that don't want you, want nothing to do with you. And when you find a good man and he doesn't want you because you've been ran through, I don't want to hear any shit about all men are trash if you're perpetuating the cycle to creating all the men that are essentially trash by treating them like shit in the first place. Okay, bye.
And they wonder why men don't want to get married anymore. It's less about ego boosts and more about acquiring assets and a second residual income. Happened to me too. My ex-wife said she was bored and wanted to live her best life. My ex-wife used me to raise our kids, and then as soon as they were grown, she found someone else and left me. 15 years for nothing, and now my life is over. That's absolutely
you're
correct.
lucky it's only 15
Women
years.
like this always end up regretting their decisions much later on in life. Overall, this is emotional and psychological domestic abuse. It's not just a bad decision
Absolutely.
or a failed relationship. It's a deeply damaging betrayal.
Yes.
By pretending to be committed, she manipulated him into believing in a future together, drawing him in with false promises and expectations. This kind of manipulation messes with a person's emotional stability, making them question their own judgment, trust, and even their self-worth. Now, let's take a look at Larissa. This woman is Larissa, and Larissa is a very annoying wife that caused her husband to divorce her.
I am literally still in shock that my husband just came home from work one day and decided that he's going to up and leave the family and has left me in a position where I have to find a way to save my house. But here we are.
I'm
Even
sure there's
after her
nothing
divorce,
and no
she has
reason.
become obsessed with making TikToks about him, bashing him.
Talk all the shit you want about my husband abandoning me, that he got out at the right time. So you've got a toxic mid-ass man in your house and you need him to leave. My soon-to-be ex-husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband, my soon-to-be ex-husband. Well, since my husband...
There's an obsession there indeed, but that man wanted peace, and he finally got out.
I am literally still in shock that my husband just came home from work one day and decided that he's going to up and leave the family and has left me in a position where I have to find a way to save my house. But here we are. I'm going to tell you the story. But here's the deal. I am in the creator fund. And if 35 million people watch this, TikTok will pay to save my house. I know that's ambitious. You've already watched long enough. But if we can get a large amount of views, I can figure something out, okay? Here's the deal.
Man,
my husband
you're
comes
out
home
here
from
broke.
work one day and says, I don't really like you anymore. I'm not happy here. I need to leave. And we have our conversation, and it basically ends with, don't stay if you don't like me. That's not something that's going to change because I'm not changing, right? But if this is something that can be figured out, if it's because of other things that are happening that could maybe be shifted, then let's talk about it. Let's try and work it out. He says, okay, we'll try and work it out, but he's going to Nashville on a work trip the next day. So that really gives it a couple of days to simmer, right? Well, wild twist of fate, his dad also ends up being on a work trip in Nashville, something that he didn't even know about until he was already there. They don't work for the same company. It was just this wild twist of fate. After he talks to his dad, I don't hear from him at all the rest of that trip. We had been talking before that. He had called me a couple of times, and then radio silence, not even a text. Comes home and basically just says, okay, well, I'm leaving. I can't stay here. I don't want to be here. So not much I can do about that, right? It has been less than 2 weeks. He has already rented an apartment and he is moving out tomorrow. Like, I am looking at his boxes over there that are waiting for him to grab tomorrow. So I would love to keep my house. I have 2 100-pound dogs that were really his, but
Man,
I'm keeping them.
this
She
chick
works
is
12-hour
wrecked.
days. And at this point, yes, I'm desperate. If you want to hear more, I did block his ass, so I will talk more about
we
it.
don't want to hear anything else.
Now you're probably feeling sorry for her, but don't.
No.
Basically, the reason why her husband is divorcing her is because he was very unhappy in the marriage. What makes it even more crazy is the fact that she knew about it but continued to neglect him. So again, because he was unhappy, he decided to leave. Now what she's doing is trying to build herself a career on TikTok by telling everyone about her failed marriage. Take a look.
There definitely were signs that my soon-to-be ex-husband, who decided he wanted to leave and then skipped out within 24 hours, was unhappy, but I rightfully misinterpreted them because as this is all happening, his mom is on her way to Spirit. And things started to get a little rocky in February, and that was when he found out that his mom was on her way out of this lifetime. As it stands right now, right about when he decided to up and skip out of the house, she's got like a month left on this earth. So of course I thought he was just processing the grief of losing a parent because that is a lot of grief and absolutely changes you. But apparently it was also that he was unhappy with me. Maybe I wasn't able to support him quite in the way he needed to be supported in that time. And you know, that's not entirely my job either. It would have been my job to help him. But if he really needed somebody, we could have found him a therapist. The problem is he never really communicated what was
Yeah, she's always the victim, and you know the stuff she's saying is she sounds cold. You know, she doesn't have any empathy. So, you know, she's saying, "Oh, he left for no reason." You kind of seeing the reason why.
going on. So for me, I thought he was just disassociated because of the parent. Even if all of this is simply a byproduct of that grief, it does not excuse the behavior, and it does not mean if he processes through this and realizes that he fucked up, that he has any chance of coming back.
There's always three sides of the story. There's her side, his side, and the truth. Now, I do agree that the man should have tried to communicate what he was going through, but I can only assume he didn't, because something may have happened in the past when he tried to. Or else, why would he hesitate to communicate how he feels or what he's going through?
Exactly, man. You know, but look, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up here. You guys go ahead and smash that like button, subscribe, join the tribe. Let's talk about it in the comments. Let's chop it up. And with no further ado, I'm your brother and I love you. And I'm out.